guys, welcome to another video, and today we've got a controversial, opinionated video about Forza Horizon 2 and The Crew. Obviously they're both open world races coming out this year, and they have a lot in common and a lot we can compare them about. So these two games are possibly going to be the biggest games of this year, in the racing community. So why not go ahead and compare them? Everything I say here is all my opinion, and opinions can change. Obviously the Crew isn't even out yet, nor is Horizon, so I can't really make a full-on final judgment till I played The Crew in November. But I can kind of give, my opinions, from the beta and about the demos of, each respective game, and kind of give you guys an opinion of what I think of both games. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Okay, so the first little section we're going to kind of judge both games on is the gameplay. First I'm going to talk a bit about Forza Horizon, then I'm going to talk about The Crew, and then we're going to compare. So, Forza Horizon, it's easy but challenging. It's one of those games that's really easy to play but hard to master, especially with all the varied assists, and especially with, all the tuning setups and whatnot. You can really have a diverse gaming experience with, with Forza Horizon. It's kind of an arcadey sim in the sense that, you can, make the car manual with clutch and turn the ABS off and traction control off and whatnot, and have the game kind of feel similar to Forza 5. However, in that same sense, you can put all the assists back to kind of like an arcadey style and have it feel kind of very, very different to Forza 5. Even when you are playing with all the assists off, it doesn't feel like you're playing Forza 5. It kind of feels like you're playing. It's still arcadey, but it kind of feels a bit more realistic with a playground touch on it, if you know what I mean. So there is that kind of aspect to it. Obviously, you've got customization in Forza Horizon. You could argue you have more just because of of the vinyl system. There's obviously unlimited possibilities with the vinyl system. There's obviously going to be less body options, so you can't obviously do as many bumpers, as many headlights, as many hoods and stuff like that. But in terms of actual visual customization, you're going to have more. Just simply because of the liveries. You're going to be able to make, Brian's Skyline. You're going to be able to, make the Need for Speed, Most Wanted 2005 hero car, the Beamer. You're gonna be able to do this. You're gonna be able to do that. You just can't do that in The Crew. You can't make, the Beamer from Most Wanted 2005 in The Crew. It's just not. It's impossible. You can't do it. So in that sense, I guess it has more customization. Obviously, you've got performance upgrades as well, which are a lot more in depth than The Crew. You've got, each individual part. Then you can obviously go performance upgrade it via the tuning. It is just a lot more in depth than The Crew, but obviously The Crew kind of has you can't really compare the customization systems because they are both very different, but that is definitely something I would take into consideration. Generally, I would say that Forza Horizon visually has more customization and genuinely has more customization, but not body customization, if you know what I mean. It's hard to explain, but I'm pretty sure you guys know what I mean. So those are the kind of things I would talk about Forza Horizon when coming down to the gameplay. Very easy but challenging. Obviously the features within the game in terms of customization, performance upgrades and whatnot, and even the car list are very, very extensive. May I mention the car list? I think it's over 200, as where The Crew it's only about 60, so that is an absolute huge bonus for everyone who's playing Horizon. So those are definitely some strong points for Horizon. Obviously with The Crew, it's hard but fun. This is something I noticed, the gameplay itself is very hard. The gameplay is very slippery, and it's definitely going to take a while to get used to, but it's definitely very hard. There's definitely a grind in the gameplay, even though obviously there was a level cap, so that was going to limit, what type of, how much, money we earn, because the level kind of acts as a money multiplier, I guess. So obviously that's going to kind of, restrict how much you can earn in the beta, but it still felt like a chore. Even if the money got upgraded, it still felt like a chore to me, and it just didn't it didn't feel like I was being rewarded for everything I did. It kind of felt like I was having stuff thrown at me, and it didn't really mean much, But you know, obviously assists are still in the game. The map's very big, so you can have a lot of kind of terrain to kind of explore. You know, it's very diverse. It's very diverse landscapes because obviously it's the whole of the USA. There's going to be ski jumps. There's going to be this. There's going to be that, which is going to be great. However, it did feel very clunky for me. Maybe it's because I was playing on the PC version, and obviously I was recording everything I was doing on the beta, and obviously PC. You know, my PC is kind of a bit, you know, meh. Well, it's not meh, but it's a bit. It can be a bit dodgy here and there. So maybe that might have something to do with it. But it felt very clunky for me, and obviously it is the beta, so I guess it's kind of a bit hypocritical to say it felt unfinished, but it felt a bit unfinished. You know, I guess the demo of Forza Horizon doesn't really represent the full release of, you know, the actual game itself. But yeah, like I guess those are kind of my little nitpicks with the crew, I guess. Obviously, you know, the weather effects aren't in the crew, and like Horizon, you're going to have weather effects in Horizon. But besides that, really, like they said, they're going to be ever expanding the game. So there's going to be so much they're going to be adding. There's going to be so much that, you know, the game will be introducing in the future. But, you know, as of launch, and as of, you know, what I imagine will be at launch, to be honest, Horizon kind of edges it. Now, again, this is my opinion, guys. Like, we've only got through one section. We've got 4 more to go. You know, I think gameplay-wise and the longevity-wise, the games will last about the same time. But I think the crew kind of will last longer in the sense that there's a lot more to kind of do, because just for the basic reason it takes longer to unlock everything. But I would say it is kind of tied, to be honest. Like, it is really hard to pick between the two for gameplay, because they are both genuinely, like, tremendous. So I'm actually going to give this a tie, because it is really hard to pick, you know, between the two. So, you know, for the gameplay, I'm going to give it a tie. Okay, the next kind of category we have is sound. Now, sound is one of those ones that you can kind of get away with if you kind of over-exaggerate it. You know, I think personally, being, you know, kind of one of those guys that doesn't mind if they kind of over-exaggerate sounds in games, I kind of really appreciate, you know, a good V6 roaring, and, you know, I kind of appreciate, you know, when I can hear the rain droplets falling and stuff like that. So, you know, we're gonna talk a bit about the soundtrack. We're gonna talk a bit about, you know, the engine noises and stuff like that. So first, let's talk about the soundtrack between the two games. This is, you know, this is like a completely, you can't argue with this. Forza Horizon 2 has a better soundtrack, easily, hands down. You can't argue. Easily wins, you know, easily wins. You know, the crew soundtrack was good. You know, it had some good songs. It had a bit of Arctic Monkeys, had a bit of, you know, Mortars and whatever it was, you know, but the Forza Horizon 2 is based around this festival setting with car culture and festival at its core. You expect it to have a better soundtrack, and it really does. It's got a bit of, you know, Gecko Overdrive. It's got, you know, Nero. It's got Eric Pritz, and that's just only for Bass Arena. You know, I only really listen to Bass Arena because that's just kind of my personal taste. But it's also got, you know, it's got what are the guys it's got? It's got oh, you should go. Who sings that song? Who sings that song? I can't remember. Yeah, it's got so many different, you know, soundtracks and so many different music tastes it covers. You know, it's obviously got your standard house. It's got rock. It's got kind of indie. It's got, you know, a classical. It's got so much, you know. There's such a big music variety covered by Forza Horizon, unlike the crew. The crew is very lackluster in terms of its soundtrack, and you know, it's that is to be expected, because Horizon 2 is based around this music theme, and you'd expect it to have a really good soundtrack. So Horizon 2 easily, soundtrack wins for me there, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, easily. Okay, now engine noises and kind of just everything else. For me, both games have great engine noises. This is kind of how I would explain both of the engine noises. So, Horizon 2, it's realistic but gritty. It's realistic, but at the same time, it feels meaty, if you know what I mean. You know, like it feels like the cars sound realistic, and they sound kind of how you would expect them to, but they are kind of exaggerated to the point where they feel a bit meaty, if you know what I mean. Obviously, on top of that, you're going to have, you know, the rain effects. You can hear, you know, the rain dropping, the wipers, you know, going from side to side. You can hear each droplet hit the windscreen. You can, you know, hear this. You can hear, you know, your bumper scraping across the ground, maybe if that's come off. for me personally, you know, the sound in Forza Horizon 2 are better than the Crew, you know. In the Crew, the engine noises are still great, you know. Look, I'm not going to deny that. They are absolutely great. You know, the actual engine noises themselves, they feel over-exaggerated to the point where it makes me happy. Like, and I like that. I really do like that. You know, when you're putting your nitrous down and the exhaust kind of just spit fire and it's going to go poof, like that just makes me really happy as well. But I would definitely say easily Forza Horizon 2 wins, just basically because of the soundtrack. That gives it a really, really big lead for the kind of sound area of things, and I would definitely give, you know, the sound kind of win to Forza Horizon without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, Forza Horizon 2. My next category is to do with the graphics. Now the graphics again, it's an easy win for Horizon. Now I'm going to explain why it's an easy win for Horizon in a minute. But basically, Horizon, obviously, it's got your weather system, it's got amazing reflection, amazing real-time reflections, amazing detailed cars, and it's got a big bunch of them as well, over 200. It's an easy win. Everything in Forza Horizon is just great. Now I'm going to explain why Horizon has got a better, you know, graphic system in comparison to the Crew. Firstly, it's an Xbox exclusive. That's going to be a huge win for the Crew. Obviously, Horizon, it's more tailored to just the two consoles, and that is going to, you know, make it better, you know, for those two consoles, because they've had to concentrate on one console and not had to concentrate on porting it over to PC, PS4, Xbox, and Xbox 360. You know, that they haven't had to concentrate on that. However, the Crew still looks great. You know, for me, I notice even though both games I believe are at 30 frames, you know, they both look great, but Horizon obviously gets the win, easily gets the win. The Crew has diverse landscapes. The reflections they're okay, you know, and generally the car models are quite good. But Horizon 2 easily wins the graphics area of things, especially as it's got, you know, the weather. It's got weather effects, so that's going to play a part as well. I find out just little things like this, it just kind of easily gives a win to Horizon 2, you know. So easy graphics sound are you know, wins to Horizon 2, just for the basic reason it is an Xbox exclusive and they can put all their effort into one, you know, into one game. And the map's not as big, you know. There's not as many, you know, textures and buildings you have to put in, you know. Like, I know the Crew kind of felt samey in some areas. Like if you went into, say, Detroit, it would kind of feel the same as you went into some other, you know, kind of, you know, if you went into kind of the East Coast or South Coast and you kind of went into some of the dirtier areas, it kind of feels the same in that sense. But there was still a lot more textures and a lot more stuff they have to put into the Crew because it is just genuinely bigger. Both maps are big, but yeah, the Crew's undoubtedly bigger than Forza Horizon. But the graphics are easily better in Forza Horizon without a shadow of a doubt. So, graphics goes to Forza Horizon. And my final kind of really important category is multiplayer. Now, multiplayer, it's becoming the main thing with video games nowadays. Multiplayer is what keeps people coming back now, you know. It used to be achievements and it used to be all the add-on content after game, but now it's multiplayer. Now, I want to talk about Forza Horizon 2 and talk about the Crew, as I've been doing before. So, Forza Horizon 2 has a simple, diverse multiplayer, has car meets, has playground games, and overall, it's very, very seamless. You don't notice how good the Forza Horizon 2 multiplayer is till you've played it. It is just genuinely, it's a game built around multiplayer, as the Crew is as well. They are both built around multiplayer, and Forza Horizon 2, it's evident. You see this everywhere, whether it's the driver tars and whether it's deliveries, you know, in your single-player game, whether it's, you know, you're playing in multiplayer games and you go into a car meet and you see all the different people's cars and you see this, you see that. It is based around multiplayer. Now the Crew, again, it's very similar. It's simple. It's just obviously got your PvP events. You can do every single mission in the game co-op, which is a great plus for the Crew. You know, it is genuinely a game built around social customization. Obviously, there's no car meets, and you can't, you know, go buy other people's setups and stuff like that. And to be honest, I would say, as a social aspect, as for making friends, you're not going to be making as many friends as you are in Forza Horizon. But for a solo, dedicated multiplayer, the Crew wins every single day of the week. Now, for me, Forza Horizon 2 is based around friends. You know, I think Ralph Fulton said they want to have this game, you know, where you play friends and then you might meet some. And that is very, very true. you know, you're going to go into this with a group of friends, and you might meet some new friends, maybe in a car meet, maybe in, you know, open lobbies and playground games, but at its core, it's a social multiplayer, you know? Like, it wants you to play with friends. Now, the crew, as much as, you know, you can go in and make friends and stuff, that's not the main core of the game. It is a social, it's a solo multiplayer, if that makes sense. It's there for you to grind. It's there for you to kind of really experience what the crew has to offer. It's not there for you to make friends, in my opinion, you know. I'm not going to be going into the crew, and I'm not going to be making friends, unlike Forza Horizon 2. So, take that as you will, you know. I mean, this all depends on how you play multiplayer. Me, I play it in both, you know, kind of ways. I do play it solo, but at the same time, I do play it with friends. So, I guess for me, it doesn't really count, you know. Like, I'm gonna be doing both, so I can't really give an overall winner for the multiplayer section. But I definitely both multiplayers have their strengths. Like car meets, you know, Horizon 2. Like, sorry the crew, but you know, as for like meeting friends and like just like having other people's things and doing stuff with other people, Horizon 2 wins easily. But sorry Horizon, you know, the crew, as for a solo, dedicated, you know, grind multiplayer, very similar to what we had in like Modern Warfare 2 and, you know, some of the earlier COD games where you would go just to play and grind 10th prestige. That is kind of very similar to the kind of system we have in the crew, you know, where you want to kind of get every single card to level 50. And I guess that is a really big point if you are a solo multiplayer player. It all depends on personal, you know, preferences, and I can't give a winner to this, you know. Like I said, Horizon 2 is great for the playground games, you know, for playing tag, for playing virus, for playing this, and you know, the actual, you know, world itself is built around that kind of stuff. But the crew, again, it has its social, you know, solo multiplayer elements in the game, and it is really, really hard. You can't pick between the two. So overall, for multiplayer, I would give it a tie. But overall, I've got to give it to someone, you know. I can't just say, oh, it's a tie here, a tie there. Overall, I have to give a winner, because otherwise it's pointless me making this comparison video. Now, again, opinions probably will change from here to the end of the year. But as of now, Forza Horizon 2 easily wins for me. You know, obviously, it's got its co-op multiplayer, it's got its gameplay, it's got its weather system, it's got its amazing soundtrack, it's got its over 200 cars, it's got its livery system, it's got its body customization system, it's got its performance customization. There is so much you can do in Horizon compared to the crew. Now the crew, it seems like a bit of a grind fest, and I've said this, you know, for quite a long time. It seemed very underwhelming when I played the beta, and obviously it was the beta, I didn't get access to everything, but you know, it seemed like a bit of a grind fest. Horizon seems a bit more laid back, it seems a bit more innocent, and it seems a bit more fun. And isn't that what we play games for? No matter what you're getting. I'm not saying, you know, this is the be-all end-all for the crew, because I'm still going to get the crew, you know. Like, the crew still looks absolutely amazing, you know. You've got your circuit spec cars, you've got your performance spec cars, you know, you can be able to customize your body kit, you can be able to do this, do that. It's great, you know. I'm not arguing that the crew is not a great game, because it's going to be absolutely tremendous. But as for, you know, picking between the two, easily Horizon. Horizon is the game everyone has been waiting for. The car culture, the festival culture, the customization, the broad range of events, whether it's cross country, circuit races, you know, virus, tag, king. It's so varied, you know, and there's so much in Horizon that just doesn't come in the crew. Even though the crew is supposed to be the biggest and best game, it doesn't feel like it kind of meets that, you know. And obviously, we are still waiting for full release, you know. Things may change from here to now, but, yeah. For me, easily, Horizon wins. And I don't want you guys who like Horizon, who like the crew, to get upset. Because the crew is still going to be great. If you don't have an Xbox One, the crew is probably the best game that you're going to play for a very long time. But, for me, Horizon, if you do have an Xbox One or a 360, it's definitely going to be, you know, the better game, you know. But again, it's all opinions. I mean, you guys might prefer a different game. It all depends, you know. I mean, some of you guys probably prefer Drive Club to both of these games, but this is my kind of in-depth comparison between the two. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to hit the like, subscribe. Liking really does help the video. It helps me, you know, share the video around with everyone and stuff, you know, and it just kind of helps me grow my channel. Subscribing obviously helps because it just kind of, you know, it gives you guys a notification when I actually next upload. My Twitter's down in the description as well. I'm very active on my Twitter as well as my forum chat. I usually speak there all the time, so you can go and speak to me down there. And I will see you later. Peace.